Hello guys and welcome to Watch in Time. Today we are going to be discussing, as you see, a model from a watch, the Nivada Grenchen F77, which it is a very look-alike Royal Oak watch. So we're going to be reviewing it just to have a general overview of what this model means. You know, a little bit of history about Nivada, what's going on with Nivada, what they are presenting, what they are relaunching, where this line comes from, and how nowadays a copy, we can call it a copy, with a strong inspiration and follow-up on the line of Gerald Genta and the Royal Oak, can be reproposed for a market from another brand, and have such a success because they sold out all of the four models. There are two colorations, blue and black, and both of them present a version with date and without date. And Nivada put them on pre-sale, pre-order, and sold them out, all of them, for 1,200 almost euros, which is not a cheap price for a very simple watch with a support movement. So anyway, so let's have an overview and understand where this is coming from. So first of all, we need to understand what happened with Nivada in the 70s. Obviously, there was a big success generated by the Royal Oak, and the integrated bracelets was a big thing during the 70s. So Nivada decided on 1977, that's almost 5 years later than the Royal Oak, to launch a line that was called the F77 with integrated bracelets in different iterations, in order to compensate that demand coming from the market. So you find here at the left side an original vintage piece from that period. It is also an F77, but as you can see, it has a different DNA. It still keeps the nice integrated bracelet style. The case is still kind of a octagon as the Royal Oak, but it presents itself in a different line, and you can see the difference right next to each other. Another interesting thing that Nivada did, and let me just focus on the dial, is that they started producing very interesting dials with unique kind of weavings, if we want to put it that way. I really love this blue version. It has that degradé also of the color, going from light to dark blue. You have a day date, which is actually pretty nice to see on a watch of the period. You have a Swiss-made movement, you have a Swiss-made watch, you have a Guy Laroche bracelet that were used by Nivada at the time, and as you can see, the integrated bracelet that reminds me a lot to the PRX Tissot of today really works very nice. These links already at the 70s were light. They were not solid stainless steel pieces. You can see that there were like two pieces of stainless steel bending into each other. It's, even if it looks like a solid piece, but here it's more clear when you go to the end links. As you can see, it is actually bended, so this makes the stainless steels lighter, but definitely the quality remains, and it's an excellent watch that you can still pick up, if you're lucky, on eBay or other platforms, even in a new condition, because some of them, this one was actually a NOS. I was very lucky to have it and to actually find it in that state. And it is a very nice model. It is much more original, if we want to put it that way, compared to the Royal Oak inspiration. So now let's move back to the modern F77. Something that I like about Nivada is that the relaunch of the brand, that started kind of a micro brand, really. But the relaunch of the name and the brand of Nivada, that was almost dead for 30-40 years, actually was managed and is being managed in a very intelligent fashion. And it's also very straightforward. They are not overcomplicating themselves trying to present yourself with a modern watch inspired by the old lines. They are just picking the old models and redoing them. Reproducing them more clearly. It is intelligent because if you're looking for a vintage watch that is actually new, this is a good alternative. A good example is this F77. It is a copy of the original F77 model, Royal Oak inspiration that they had in their lineup. Even the size, it is really, let's say, an exact replication. So it's a 38 mil. If you compare it to the 39 mil of the real Royal Oak, obviously there is a difference in size. But at that period in the 70s, you cannot deny that the central body, the dial, it's exactly the same. Nivada presents itself with a dial that it's kind of carbon fiber coloration and weaving. It's not carbon fiber, obviously. It's just the type of treatment they have done to it. You have a double dome sapphire crystal. You have a Swiss-made movement, of course, and a Swiss-made watch. Something interesting to notice, Nivada, they obviously, you have a modern clasp also. Nivada says to be Swiss-made, and I believe them, obviously. They are producing their watches in Swiss-made, and there are rules for Swiss-made branding. We know that 60% more or less. But this watch was actually shipped from China. I was a little bit surprised, and I asked them, is it actually the shipment from the F77 from yours? Is it because it's coming from China? And they answered me back saying that they have a facility in China for distribution, and that's what they're being used right now to distribute the watches. But it sounds totally illogical to ship watches produced in Switzerland to China to be shipped worldwide. So the most likely explanation is that they actually have a factory, or they have a supplier in China that does something in the process, maybe assembling, boxing, whatever you want, but it's made in China, and it's part of that 35-40% of non-Swiss made, that it's right there in the final process that ships from China. Are they all shipping these watches from China? I don't really know. I would like to hear from other customers. Maybe some of them go back to Switzerland, and they just ship this time from China. It's the first time actually that they ship to me from China. In other times they have shipped me from Switzerland. So maybe it was just a shortcut for them to just ship it directly from there instead of having it go to Switzerland and losing more time. So it's quite interesting to see that Swiss-made watches are also being supported by China, and we know this from many brands. Who even big brands have supportive industry in China that is giving them something or doing something stepwise in the process. Anyway, let's go back to the model. The 38-37 almost millimeters case wears very, very nice in every wrist size. And this is something that we have to recognize for the F77. They brought up the original size of the 70s too, and with modern materials, obviously, because you can see here clearly that even if the bracelets are different, the quality of the new stainless steel bracelet, it is solid. It gives you a different feeling, and overall the quality, I have to say, it's very, very good on this watch. The clasp is a full mil clasp, and it works quite well with double pushers. Really, really nice. I know many YouTubers have already gone into the details of this F77, but it's interesting having it just next to the Jumbo, the Royal Oak Jumbo, which is a 39 millimeters and actually compares much better to this than the 41 millimeters Royal Oak. And as you can see, obviously camera wise, the colors are not going to be exactly the same that's in reality. I see it already from the phone that this looks much brighter, but in real life you just can say that the Royal Oak has a deeper blue than the one on the Nivada, and that's fine, it's a different coloration, but the use of the octagon and the screws is almost exactly the same style. Obviously this is much thinner. The bracelet of the Royal Oak, it's unique to the Royal Oak. In this case, it's a fully integrated bracelet because you just have two links attaching it to the case. In the case of the F77, we can still say it's an integrated style and an integrated bracelet, especially because the lock size, it is very small, and you have just a small part of it that is going to be getting into the case. It's not a quick release, so there are no expectations here for bracelets of different quality to be made for this, like the PRX of Tissot at the moment. But as you can see, the nice case, keeping it thin at 12 millimeters almost, it is a good measurement also for wearing it in an everyday watch. Obviously the watch is going to be wearing bigger because of the male end links that are going to make the bracelet look, the lock to lock, a little bit more bigger than what it is normally. Instead of the Royal Oak that actually have kind of a female end link and wears much more precise to the wrist. So let's have some wrist shots at this point. Today I'm wearing the Air King from Rolex, the new model. So very nice actually on this 40 millimeters version. And we have the F77, as you can see here, guys, that wears, even in its very reduced case, nicely on an 18.5 centimeters wrist. The quality, it's there, so you're going to get back what you're paying for your money, but probably this type of watches in Nivada at the same quality tag, they are selling them at a lower price, so it's around 150 200 less. So there is a surplus here, and I think it's just a marketing play. Obviously on the design, you're paying for a Royal Oak copy, kind of. It's true, guys. If you have the Royal Oak, wear it with health, but in the F77, the main appealing marketing concept that you're going to be looking at is actually its resemblance to the Royal Oak. Nobody can come to me and say, oh no, it's the history behind F77. It has a big history in the watch industry and it's a very original design. It really is not. It is a copy of the Gerald Genta design, but that's fine. It's good to have this type of copy history. They are not copying in 2023. They're actually copying what was the trend in the 70s. And it's nice to actually have a vintage piece size on that trend of the period. The F77 that I find more original, the vintage piece, just for you to see on the wrist, obviously it's going to be wearing itself much more as a vintage piece, and immediately you have that grandpa DNA on it. It's the only way I can put it on some vintage pieces, but I can say they have done in this F77 an excellent job. It is quite unique, it is quite nice, and definitely a conversation starter when you're going around. So a very interesting piece indeed. Just for you guys that have not seen it in person, the Royal Oak actually Jumbo 39, as you can see, also due to the big lock size of the case, it wears quite big, even on an 18.5 centimeters wrist. So I think this is a perfect size, much perfect than the 41 millimeters that is actually too big, too chunky to actually see it. So anyway, guys, I hope you like this video. We'll be seeing each other very soon in other videos, so just let's keep in touch, and until the next video, please bear in mind, if you are considering any of these watches, well, you can still find the vintage pieces or the new F77. I strongly recommend it. I like it. And I am an AP Royal Oak owner. So, you know, there's a space for everything at the end of the day. And definitely, I have worn this already a couple of times, and it's a really, really enjoyable watch. Please take care, and until then, see you in the next video.